Hey guys, welcome to Destination Pen Tester. So today we're going to be reviewing the Penetration Testing Student version 2, which is the review course for the eJPT version 2. So I already made a video on the eJPTv2. INE came out on a blog and talked about the differences and the things that they're going to include in that certification. And well, what can I tell you? So I've already started studying for this. And so far it's going pretty well. So let's take a quick look. Here you go. Here you see in my screen, Penetration Testing Student version 2. So this is the breakdown, right? They have first assessment methodologies, and then they break it down into several sections, including information gathering, footprinting and scanning, enumeration, vulnerability assessment, and auditing fundamentals. Then the next section is host and network penetration testing. Right, and in here they have system host-based network, the use of Metasploit, the exploitation phase, post-exploitation, social engineering, etc. And in the third part, it's web application penetration testing. So, like I said earlier, I have already started this course, and so far so good. It's pretty good. I'm pretty happy with what they've done. So if you're not familiar with the penetration testing student version 1, really the first one was basically, here I'm going in right now. As you can see, I'm 92% complete. I basically finished everything. But let's go here, for example. They make use of a lot of PowerPoint slides. So, for example, if we go to the introduction and we look at cryptography and VPN study guide, I'll go to the slides, and this is what you get, right? So you go through every single slide, you read through, they have the examples, and it was no problem. I mean, I was very happy with the penetration testing student. But I know that some people struggle with reading PowerPoint slides or just reading in general, right? In this day and age, we want to watch videos because it's just more interactive. And it's, I think, for a lot of people, it's easier to learn, right? Because you're listening to somebody, you're seeing them do something on the screen. It's more interactive. The PowerPoint slides are not, right? And if you have, there's only so much that you can communicate through a slide. Nevertheless, they're pretty good. So this is kind of what it looks like for the PTS. But if we go back, right, to PTS version 2, let's go right here. So if we do the first one, as you can see, I already finished this one. It's loading. As you can see, they're videos. So for information gathering, the introduction, this is what you get. And so you get Alexis Ahmed, who is also known as Hackersploit. So if you haven't checked his YouTube channel, go check him out. He's got tons of really good information. He's a really good teacher, very patient, and definitely knowledgeable of his craft. So I was very happy to see that he's one of the instructors teaching this thing, and he has done an awesome job so far. So you'll notice that they'll still make some use of PowerPoint slides. Nevertheless, they're reading it out, they're explaining it, and sometimes they also just go on the computer and just share their screen, and they do some exercises. So for example, let's try this one. So this is Josh Mason. He's very popular. He used to work for INE, but he left to another company. But let's see. So for example, he'll have a video as well. So in this one, it's PowerPoint slides as well. But he has other ones where he's actually on... Okay, I think it's this one. He's actually on the computer, right? So it starts off with him speaking, and then he'll get on the computer and do some exercises. So I think that's pretty neat. I like the change that INE is taking, and they're going from the PowerPoint slides to this video format, which I think it was time for them, because I think that yeah, there's a reason why the phrase "death by PowerPoint" exists, and that is because, you know, it can just get very monotonous, it can get very tiring, and one can lose motivation quickly if you're just reading a PowerPoint slide. So yeah, I'm very happy that they have changed to this video format. I think that Alexis Ahmed and Josh Mason did a really good job here as instructors. I am not all the way through. As you can see, I've only finished a few sections, 2 or 3 sections. But I wanted to make this video to give you guys an update that, hey, first of all, if you didn't know, this is already up, and how it is so far. So let's see, what do we want to do next here? Okay, so let's talk about the main differences, right? So here on this side, I have the PTS, which is for the eJPT. This is the PTS version 2, which is for eJPT version 2. However, eJPT version 2 has not come out yet. So the certification, the exam has not come out. However, the course is already out. So a few things that I'll point out right away. The new version is 144 hours long. The old one is only 52. So this new one is about 3 times more. And as we'll visit the different sections and the breakdown on the information that's going to be covered, you'll notice that they're covering a lot more information in this new course. But we'll leave those details for in a little bit. We'll revisit those. So Josh Mason and Alexis Ahmed, who's also known as Hackersploit, again, I highly recommend his YouTube channel if you haven't checking him out. They're the instructors, while Lucas Mikula was the instructor on the slides. However, you never really interacted with Lucas Mikula via any videos. So the first PTS had some videos that were inherited from the eLearn Security company. So eLearn Security was bought by INE, and then INE sort of kind of kept some of the materials from the past, like the videos, and I guess they probably changed the format of the PowerPoint slides. I don't know if eLearn Security had all videos or they had half PowerPoints, half videos before. But anyways, so Lucas Mikula was the instructor. I'm sure that he created the materials and the content within the course, but they were all PowerPoint slides, as you can see here. Now there are video lectures instead. Okay, so the other difference is that the PTS version 2 has 120 labs compared to the 29 labs in the PTS. So that is also a huge difference. So as far as I know, the PTS version 2 is still free, just like the PTS was. But now you're getting a lot more content, 144 hours worth of content, and you're getting 120 labs, all for free. So if you want to take the course, you can take it for free. If you want to take the certification is still $200, which I think is a really, really good price. So let's take a look at the main differences in the topics. What topics are being covered in the PTS version 2, and then we'll kind of compare with the PTS. So again, right, it's broken down in assessment methodologies, host and network penetration testing, and web application penetration testing. Okay, so in assessment methodologies, they start off with information gathering, so with passive and active information gathering. They'll do some website recon, footprinting, whois enumeration, DNS recon, Google Dorks, how to find subdomains with certain tools like Sublister. You also take a look at WAF-WOOF, which is a, what is that? A web application firewall. Leaked password databases, the use of the harvester for email harvesting online. So all of this passive information gathering, all that really is how to grab information from the internet. You're not really making any direct contact. You're not scanning any ports. You're not making any connections to the target's computers. So that's really what's going on there. So you have the assessment methodologies, footprinting and scanning. You have the enumeration. So you're going to enumerate SMB, FTP, SSH. There's an HTTP lesson here. SQL, which includes MySQL and Microsoft SQL, which are different, by the way. You're going to go through vulnerability assessments. You're going to do an overview over vulnerabilities. You're going to go and do some case studies for vulnerability assessments. Then you're going to go and audit. They're going to talk about compliance, cybersecurity basics, go through some frameworks and maturity auditing, the SCAP scan, etc. This part is completely new. That was not covered in the first PTS. A lot of this is also new, like the FTP and SSH was not really covered in the first PTS either. I think SMB was. Let's see. The reason I'm not sure is because for a little period of time, I was also studying for the eJPT, and I know in the eJPT for sure, which is the next level to after the eJPT, also given by INE or eLearn Security. So I know that in the eJPT, you definitely touch on SMB, but I don't think you do so here. Let's do a quick search. Yeah. So, or Samba. Yeah, so I don't think you do. So that's new in this one as well. So FTP is new, SMB is new. So next you have the host and network penetration testing. Here you have host-based attacks. You have Windows vulnerabilities, exploiting Windows vulnerabilities. So I don't know if you watched my other video, the eJPT version 2, but they had warned and they had told us that they will be covering more Windows. And why? Because 95% or more of organizations use Windows. So it just makes sense for a security auditor, for a penetration tester, to understand what the most common Windows vulnerabilities are, and for us to get our hands dirty and get certified on these vulnerabilities. So yeah, so they touch on exploiting Windows vulnerabilities. They're going to touch on privilege escalation for Windows as well, how to bypass the UAC, which is the user access control, Windows kernel exploits, access token impersonation. I have not gotten to this yet, but I'm really looking forward to it. It's very exciting. So they're going to touch on Windows file system vulnerabilities, Windows credential dumping. Then they move on to Linux vulnerabilities, the most common ones, how to exploit them, privilege escalation, and credential dumping. After that, they're going to cover some network-based attacks with the use of T-Shark, ARP poisoning, some Wi-Fi traffic analysis, filtering Wi-Fi. There was no wireless in the previous one, so this is pretty exciting. Metasploit framework overview. So they're going to go through Metasploit, which is pretty cool. You're going to do some Nmap. You're going to do enumeration. I guess, with Metasploit. Okay, so this is all Metasploit. Right, you're going to see how you can use Nmap with Metasploit. You're going to see how you can do some enumeration with Metasploit for these key network protocols or services like FTP, SMB, web server, MySQL, SSH, SMTP, which is Simple Mail Transfer Protocol. Okay, they're going to teach you how to do vulnerability scanning with Metasploit. They're also going to use Nessus and do vulnerability scanning with that. I'm not sure why that's under the Metasploit framework, but okay, maybe they're going to compare the two. That's kind of weird. Web apps, so they're going to do web app vulnerability scanning with WMAP, which I've never used, so I'm looking forward to that. But again, still weird that it's under the Metasploit framework. But anyways, let's move on. So next we're going to get to the exploitation side, right? And they're going to talk again about vulnerability scanning, more specifically on banner grabbing, which is when two services connect. Banner grabbing is basically the target is going to kind of say, it's like, hey, this is the OS I'm running, or this is the type of server I am, and this is my version, you know? So if it's a friendly server, it will do that, but that gives us information. That's called a banner. That gives us information that we can then use to research and see, okay, are there any known vulnerabilities and exploits for this service, for this server, for this OS in this version? So searching for exploits too, they're going to teach you how to search for them, how to fix them, how to use bind and reverse shells, exploitation frameworks, Windows exploitation, Linux exploitation. There's even a section, it seems kind of small, but there's still a section about antivirus evasion and obfuscation, which I'm pretty surprised to see this in a beginner level certification. And that's not a bad thing at all. I think that that's super exciting. Nevertheless, it may be a little more challenging, which I have to say, just by reading all of this, right, the amount of material and the material they're covering in this course, it sounds like this exam will be, at least the material in this course is definitely more challenging than the material in the first course. As you can see, we have scrolled down to here and then there's nothing, right? This one ended up here. This is all the material that they covered. We're all the way down here. And we haven't even finished yet. So there's so much more material that they're covering in this exam, which, hey, I think it's great. I think it's it sounds more realistic. And to be a junior penetration tester, you definitely need all of this information. So anyways, they're going to cover antivirus evasion, obfuscation as well. Pretty cool, huh? They're going to cover post exploitation. So once you gain a foothold in this, once you gain a foothold in this system, in this server, now you need to go back to the cycle and enumerate, right? You need to find out, okay, what files are here, what applications are running, what services are running, what utilities are running, what's the version of this or that. So that is the intro. That's the Windows local enumeration. So you'll enumerate users and groups, system information, processes and services. And why do you want to do that? That way you can, the more information you gather, the more possibilities you have to escalate, which means you go from a normal user to a user that has more privileges, or to escalate to a admin or super user so that you have full access to the entire computer. And you also want to do that with the potential of, pivoting to another system. So they're going to teach you that once you get a foothold on a system, how to enumerate users, groups, network information, processes, and services for Windows, how to do the same for Linux, how to transfer files to Windows and Linux targets, which you might need if you're going to potentially install a rootkit or a backdoor, or you want to transfer files to that computer, you want to download files to yours because maybe you find some sensitive information that you want to keep, which you probably won't do, right? Not if you're doing a normal penetration test. But anyways, still good to know. Upgrading shells, Windows privilege escalation, Linux privilege escalation, Windows persistence, which means that how can I retain access, right? Let's say I turn off my computer, they turn off the computer, and then they boot up the server again. That's persistence, right? The server will connect again to your computer so that you always have a live connection between the attacker computer, your computer, and the target. So they'll teach you how to do that with Windows, Linux. They're going to teach you how to dump and crack Windows hashes. The same for Linux hashes. Just like in the first PTS, they're going to teach you how to pivot, which means you gain a foothold in one server and then you're going to pivot you're going to scan other servers. You're going to enumerate other servers. You're going to exploit other servers from the computer that you just conquered or gained a foothold on. So that's pretty cool. How to clear your tracks in Windows and Linux so that you can be stealthy and no one knows that you're there. Then they're going to cover social engineering, and then intro to web. So pretty cool, huh? So obviously this has a ton of information. So if we go and look at PTS really quick, I think the main differences that I can already point out off the top of my head is that they don't talk about programming at all. And that was a key portion that they did have in the first one. So they talked about C++, they talked about input, output, how it works, the different operators, pointers, arrays. They talked about Python too. And they had a few exercises, which to be honest, were way harder than the slides, than the information that they actually taught you. So it was pretty impossible, at least for me, to actually finish it without looking at the solutions. But it's funny that they kind of introduced this programming portion, but they didn't test any of that information at all in at least in the black boxes. And I know in the exam they didn't teach they didn't test you on that either. So, which is pretty interesting. So no more programming in the second one. Command line scripting, you see that they have a whole section here on command line scripting. So they talk about shells and stuff, but let's see, command, which I already did. Bash. Yeah, so even command line scripting, they don't do much on in the new version as well, which I think that's pretty key. I think you need this stuff. Shameful plug. I do have a Kali Linux commands video if you want to check that out. But yeah, so they have none of that in this one. OSINT, they do cover OSINT in the second one. What else? So they cover vulnerability assessment, web attacks. They talk about malware in the first one. I don't remember what they said about malware, but it was probably very, very high level. So here it is. They covered null sessions, which is SMB. So they did cover SMB in the first eJPT. Okay. But as you can see, that's really it. Authentication cracking. But they don't cover... Yeah. They don't cover that much. What I did like, though, in this first one is that in the networking portion, they did a great job explaining the different protocols, how IP works, routing, the link layer devices and protocols, which is the second layer of the OSI model, TCP, UDP, firewall defenses, DNS. They did a really good job. I remember thinking, it's like, this is really good. And they did the same thing with web applications. They explained the cookies, how the protocol basics work. I was pretty happy with it. Really pleased. So listen, so far, what's my opinion? I think that the second one is awesome. I can tell from the second one is that they are merging their synergies with Pentester Academy, which they also bought. And when I started off, I did all Pentester Academy. And I can see a lot of their exercises and stuff in here. So yeah, I think that they're utilizing a lot of that information, a lot of the labs from Pentester Academy into this one, which I think is great. I think that this new eJPT version is going to be a lot stronger. It's not as basic anymore. It's not as junior anymore. I think it is more complete and more complex. And I think that what they're trying to do is to compete with like the maybe the PMPT and stuff like that. even though the PMPT has Active Directory and this one doesn't. But still, I mean, the Linux, Windows privilege escalation, persistence, how to get hashes, the social engineering, web. I mean, I think it's really, really good. So if you have not started studying yet, what are you waiting for? Go do it. I think it's they have done a really great job. It's really enjoyable, and it is very beginner friendly. So if there's something you don't know, just research it and go at your own speed. So just take your time. Just make sure you understand the concepts. You understand the material you're reading. You're understanding the commands you're writing, and yeah, and then you'll grow little by little. So I hope you enjoyed this video. If so, let me know in the comments below. If you have any questions, any comments, are you taking the exam? Let me know down below. I'll see you next time.